everyone. Thanks for joining us here today. We will start off our webinar now that we have the majority of people now joining us. So I am Scott Anderson, one of the partners at the Worrells firm based here in Victoria. We also have Mr. Jason Bettles joining us today, who is one of our Queensland partners. Thank you all for joining us today for what is episode 5 of our Worrells webinar series. This one's entitled Get Back an Hour in Every Day. Now, one of the many aspects Worrells prides itself on are the regular seminars that we host for our valued contacts to attend, assisting you with meeting your ongoing professional development requirements. Normally, our in-person seminars focus on insolvency-related topics, which are important for you to understand, to ideally assist you, help in advising your clients. Since April this year, we haven't been able to do our in-person seminars anymore. And like many of you here today, we needed to pivot and adapt the way that we were doing things. This led to the creation of this Worrells webinar series, which, including today, we've had just shy of 4,000 attendees, which we're very grateful that we've had such a significant interest in what we've been doing. Now, the episodes have not all been insolvency centric. In saying that, our webinar episodes have been designed to assist you with assisting your clients, as well as featuring the most relevant topics to provide value in your professional practices and personal wellbeing, whilst we all work under the current COVID circumstances. So looking back, since April, the topics that we've touched on have included the JobKeeper and the cash boost, wellbeing whilst working remotely, strategies to engage your workforce and manage some of those HR risks, and from a solvency perspective, considerations to ensuring long-term business survival. So we are at Worrells going to continue to strive to provide you with these topical, valuable and interesting webinars in the coming months. So watch this space for updates about our future Worrells webinars, which will possibly include content on funding options for businesses in the current economy and other insolvency or restructured related topics, and possibly even marketing concepts and options during the pandemic. Now, before we do get started today, there's just a couple of housekeeping matters that I wanted to address before I introduce our speaker. Firstly, if anyone encounters a technical issue, don't worry, we are recording a webinar which we'll make available to everyone in the next few days. Secondly, if you've got any questions throughout the presentation, please submit them using the question chat function. Now, we will answer I won't, but ideally our speaker will be addressing as many questions as possible throughout the webinar, at the end I should say. And finally, in the coming days, we'll also be emailing CPD certificates to age or professional development requirements. Now, today's presenter is Mr. Les Watson. So as you'll see here today, Les has boundless passion and expertise in time management. So from this, Les has in fact earned the nickname the Time Lord. So I'll leave it to Les to tell you more about his background in this field. But it is with a great pleasure I hand over this virtual stage to Les to share his passion and enthusiasm in his presentation on time management. Get back an hour in every day. So over to you, Les.
Wonderful. Thanks, Scott. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Nice to have everybody here. Looking forward to this one. Have been ever since Scott said, let's do this. So hang on tight, strap yourselves in. You're all wanting to look at how we can work in this new environment with the way the world is at the moment. And my aim is to give you back an hour a day, even though we're just on about 40 minutes and then some time for question and answers. And it does rocket along, I can guarantee you that. So let's get into it. A little bit about me. I've been training for 30 years, big companies and small. Some of the big companies you'll know, Tas Uni, Deakin Uni, RMIT, Australia Post and Combank and the Cats, etc. And it can be one-on-one through to a couple of hundred people at a time, 5 minutes through to full day. I even cut my teeth on a 6-day training. And my background of productivity and time management, but also in sales, customer service, leadership, communication, anything personal development, anything that makes you or your team tick. And I wrote a book called Get Back an Hour in Every Day. It was hugely well received to the point where they put me on the Today Show with Carl and Georgie when they were an item. Did that a couple of times. Written for Carousel Magazine, Spark Magazine, and I am a regular contributor for Inside Small Business. And there was just a couple of the articles that were published last year. And I'll start with a question, if you're ready. If you always do what you've always done, you always have what you've always had. What does that mean to you? And normally when we're in face-to-face, the answer is it's about change. Because if you don't change, you'll always stay the same and you won't have what you're after. So my question is, would you like to change? And most people go, I don't want to change, Les. Can you just give me the hour back without me having to change? Well, actually, no, it doesn't work like that. So you're going to have to do some things differently. My invitation is to check it out, try it on, give it a shot, and see if it works for you, because it's worked for thousands of people that I've worked with over the years, and it can work for you too. There's some of the productivity killers that happen in normal corporate life, from self-overload, procrastination, constant interruption, clutter and paperwork, indecision, unproductive communication, overwhelm, messy desk, distractions. And it comes down to a solution of planning and action. If I had more time, I'd be able to take you through a whole raft of things. And there is a methodology for that. If you stay till then, there's a special offer. I've got a Creating Success program and a really good discount on the digital version of my book. And that's at the end. So stay till the end, have a look at that. But what I want to do today is cover 4 basic things: clarity in planning, email paperwork, looking at habits, look at some systems, and on the back end, the last things we'll do is look at some productivity hacks. So they're the things we're going to cover, just 4 lots in that categories, and it, as I said, races along. So if you're taking notes, go right ahead. If you've got questions as we go through, make sure you put them in the chat function and we'll answer them at the end. The guy that trained me, the gentleman by the name of David Allen, he wrote the other book on time management called Get Back an Hour in Every Day. And he has this cycle of productivity where you have an idea and start it, continue it, finish it, and acknowledge it. But if that cycle is broken at any place, it creates an incompletion. And those incompletions, so there we go, 3 problems we have: lack of boundaries, insufficient language, and incompletions. The examples of incompletions would be piles of paper on a desk, expense reconciliation, stalled projects, broken promises, unreturned calls, emails, cluttered email inbox, unscheduled meetings. The funny thing about that, it's not really funny, is you pay a price, whether you know it or not. Consciously or unconsciously, you pay a price for that and for those incompletions. And they are guilt, resentment, lack of motivation, lethargy, task avoidance, anger, bitterness, confusion, stress, anxiety, lack of innovation. And some of you go, yep, I know, yep, I can relate to quite a few of those. I've had people go, I've got all of that going on. And that's not what you're after. What you want is the opposite of that. It's more energy, more power, more achievement, more motivation, satisfaction, creativity, goal attainment, the ability to move forward, sense of control. I just want control of my life, Les. Clarity, focus, peace, empowerment, and freedom. They're the rewards that you're after. So what I'm going to do, and what I normally do, is take 10 or 15 minutes in a face-to-face situation and run you through some things. And I'll still do that. I do a facilitated trigger list, a list of words that will trigger inside of you what is incomplete in your life. What are some of the things that are open loops that you've either had an idea of and not started and not continued, not finished, and finished and not acknowledged? So as I go through, I'm going to race through these. If you want a list or a way of taking that list, I've got an audio, a link to an audio. Just grab me at the end and go, yeah, I'd like that link to the audio. I'm happy to provide that. Let me take you through this list. And again, I'm going to race through it. If you want to write some things down, go right ahead, and just become aware of some of these things that may be incompletions to you. There are two areas: incompletions at work and incompletions at home, and they affect each other. So let's do some at work. For example, what projects have you finished but not completed? What have you started but not completed? And what projects need to be started? What's on your desk that's incomplete? What's around your desk that's incomplete? Commitments and promises to other people. Are there any communications you need to make with people? Again, internal, external, return any phone calls, emails, text. Any feedback you need to deliver or receive. Any other writing you need to do. Meetings need to be set. Planning or organising. Any admin, anything around HR, anything around marketing or social media, promotion and PR, sales and customer service, sales and customer service, systems. So anything around phones, computer, security, filing, storage, on-site, off-site, office equipment, office organisation, anything you're waiting for, any professional development you need. So those sorts of things give you a sense of some of those incompletions that may be relevant for you currently in your life. And that was work. What about home? Starts out the same, where you've got projects at home that you've started but not completed, projects that need to be started, any commitments or promises you've made to other people in the home, anything you've borrowed or lent, so borrowed from other people, not given back, or loaned other people and it hasn't come back. Any projects of other organisations somewhere between home and work that you serve, any communications you need to make or get, phone calls, emails, texts, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, those sorts of things. Do you need to clean up any relationships? Are there any people you need to encourage or support, get wise counsel from, apologise to? Love that one. Any conflict you need to resolve? Are there any hard communications you need to have? What about upcoming events, special occasions, birthdays, anniversaries, weddings? Personal admin. What about your own finances at home? How are you with your bills? What's your relationship with your bank? Anything you're waiting for, mail order, Amazon, eBay, Gumtree, Etsy, anything around the home. So as you come in your home, anything around walls, floor, ceiling, living room, kitchen, under the kitchen sink, bathrooms, under the bathroom sink, laundry. What about the pantry? What about your music? What about TV? What about sport, exercise, health? And the list goes on and on and on. So those incompletions actually play a part in you not being productive. They take up psychic RAM. They take up energy. And the opportunity is, once you get them, you can got to get them out of your head onto paper, because those incompletions, and I have had some people do that exercise and they go, can I have more paper, Les? And I've given them 3 sheets already. So there may be some of you that have a lot of incompletions. The key is to get it out of your head, down onto paper. And then you go, okay, what do I do with that? Well, I'll run through these. First thing you do would be to categorize them. What are some of those things on your list you're never going to do? It's been on your list for 12 years. Time to let it go. Because if you haven't done it in 12 years, are you really going to do it? If you let it go, you can free up some of that energy and get on with doing some of the other stuff that you want to do. What are the less than 2-minute jobs? Things you can get done really quickly. And they're really key because you get some momentum going. There are single action items like, for example, library book. Put the library book in the car, race off to the library, put it through the chute, jump back in the car and come home. Single of nature. You can do other things while you're out, but the example is that's a single action item. And then you've got projects which are more than one task, one action, like garage. For a lot of people, they go, oh, the garage, because there's so many actions you can do in the garage. it becomes a project. And that last one there is non-business critical. What are some of the things you want to do? Maybe not today, not this week, not this month, maybe even not this year, that you can put on a list. And when you do your planning for next year, you can bring it in and look at it and go, yep, I'm going to do that one this year. So categorize is one. And the other one is contextualize. What's the context with which you're going to do that action? And we've all got them, particularly that one there at the supermarket. We've all got the supermarket list. When I get to the supermarket, I'll be able to buy that item. And when you're at home, you should be able to categorize stuff for work. And when you get to work, do that. And when you're at work, you can categorize stuff for home and put on a list so that you don't need to worry about it at work. And when you get home, you can do the things in the home context. So there's a context you've got with a client or with a team or at the chemist or at Bunnings. So categorization, contextualization, they're really good to be able to go in a category or a context to make sure things get done. And then a lot of people go, well, what do I do with the list that you've just developed, taken it out of my head onto paper? What do I do with that? Well, you need a trusted system, some system that you know that it will get done. You trust it will get done based on it going out of your head down to somewhere. And if it's there, it will get done. And I've worked with so many people that have had so many systems and hasn't worked for them. But if you have one trusted system, and I don't care if it's paper-based or app-based, doesn't matter to me. It will work better for you in that regard. So just a bit of an understanding of how a trusted system might work. It has 4 areas. It's like an idea, a data dump, an idea, a place for your ideas. So somewhere you can do your data dump, then somewhere where it's got a calendar, and that doesn't matter if it's in your trusted system or you have it in a phone. I don't really mind. So somewhere for your calendar, somewhere to schedule things. The third one is your daily to-do. So your to-do, what actions you need to do today, and then on the back end, the areas of responsibility. So they're the 4 major things should be in a trusted system. Now, I've got one, that's a file effect system. That's how it looks. And if you open it up, it looks something like that. But this system has worked for me for 30 years. I know it works. It works for many, many people around the world. It can work for you too. And I'll talk about the app-based system in a moment, but let's just do a little insight into what it would look like. So if you're looking at 2 major components, one is calendar section and the back end being areas of responsibility. There's your calendar for a year and your calendar for a month, and then on to a day-to-day. And I like this one because it gives you the appointments on the left-hand side, then the tasks you need to do, and on the right-hand side, any notes that I take when I'm on the phone or as I'm going through the day. So that's the day-to-day to-do list on a schedule type basis. Like, what am I doing today? Now, when it comes to tasks, one of the keys with tasks is determined, as it says, the secret of your success is determined by your daily agenda, Mr. Maxwell. It comes down to prioritization. Often people say, how do I prioritize, Les? And I go, very easy, A's and B's. Go through your list, and you shouldn't have 30 things on your list. A lot of people go, I'm sick of transferring and transferring and transferring. So I go, no. Have that as your data dump and have all of your stuff in one place. And then when you're ready, bring 5 or 10 across into your day and prioritize accordingly. A's and B's. A's, what denotes an A? A would be, if it doesn't get done, the brown smelly stuff will hit the round twirly thing. And no one wants the shit to hit the fan. For example, to pay a bill. A bill is an A. Why? Because if you do not get that bill paid today, it's an extra $150. And no one's got time for that. So make that one an A and put that at the top and get it done as early as you can. So that's an example of an A. Will some of the B's that you don't get done turn into A's tomorrow? Yes, and deal with that tomorrow. So the great opportunity with prioritization on your day-to-day list and your to-do list for the day is look at your A's and your B's. Don't have 30, just have 5 to 10. Delineate which are A's and B's and get your A's done first. On the back end of my system, I have some areas of responsibility. And these are just some examples of mine. They're very specific. So get more time, invoicing, marketing, entrepreneurs Geelong, fitness, personal, finance, and the last couple are talk e-commerce and tourism and church, Cardinia. So that gives you an understanding of what they are. If I put them all together, there they are all together. And that being in one place, that being in a trusted system, that being in my planner, when I go to a meeting, I'm able to take my planner and take notes on whatever meeting I'm in, and it's in one place. I was working with one executive, he goes, come and I'll show you this. And I walked in and there was a planner there, notebook there, notebook there, notebook there, notebook there, and he just had them everywhere. He'd pick up a notebook and didn't really have a system. So the opportunity is to look at what's your system. Because for some people, not having a system, it ends up on the back of an envelope or on a napkin or on a notebook here and a notebook there, and it doesn't work for them. So what's your trusted system? And there are some people, they go, oh, Les, I've moved on from paper. I'm now an app person. And I go, that's fine too. I don't mind what it is, but what's your trusted system? So there's lots and lots of apps. You got AnyDo, Asana, Centrillo, EasyNote, OneNote, Google Keep, Trello, Remember the Milk, Evernote, OmniFocus, Todoist, Links, just lots and lots and lots. Which one works for you? I don't know. I just know that you can have a trusted system in an app if you so choose. One of the ones that works for a lot of people is OneNote. Why? Because it looks like and sounds like and is kind of in a similar vein to the paper-based system. I'll give you an example. So I showed you an example of a paper-based, so my file effects in that regard, and there you've got a notebook. So from the notebook, you've got the tabs, and you saw my tabs, and inside of the tabs are the pages. So that's how it just is very similar to a paper-based system. And if I was to lift the lid on it, there's a greater example of the way I do it in OneNote. So that tab in the work notebook, you'll see at the top left is the work notebook. The tab is Get More Time, and on the right-hand side are the pages. So 73 secrets to productivity, etc., etc. And then up the top, you've got other tabs. I've got a contract with Deakin Uni, marketing, writing, business builders group, my wife's book, mentoring, localized. So there's some of the things that I get as a way of having a trusted system in an app. I also have one for reference, and I also have one for finance. And I can talk to people about how to do OneNote a little bit later on if they so choose to get in touch with me. But I did want to move along to one of the banes of a lot of people's life, and that is email. Email, bane of a lot of it. They just go, oh, I hate email. And I was working with one guy once, and he went, I've got 6,000 emails in my inbox. And I go, let's handle that, shall we? So the first thing that I did with him is I said, how many are current? And he said, well, about 20. I said, great. So from everything else, the 5,180, create a folder over here and call it Demilitarized Zone or 2020 or whatever you'd like to call it, and transfer everything else apart from the 20 over into that folder and then go to lunch. Why? Because you won't get any work done while it transfers. When you get back from lunch, you'll have the 20. And when he got back from lunch, he had 20 and he went, I can do 20 emails. Guess what? He got to the end of the day and came to this thing called Inbox Zero. And you can look it up. It's a way of not having emails all banking up in your email inbox. When he came in the next day, he had about 7 emails in his inbox in the morning. And he went, I can do 7 emails. And I saw him, it was about 3 years ago that I worked with him, and I saw him the other day. And I said, Dale, how's the system? And he went, never looked back. It's been brilliant. His productivity went through the roof just by getting to Inbox Zero. So from there, you're looking at, well, how do I deal with it ongoingly? And that is where the 4 Ds come in. I got this one out of priority management, which is do, dump, delegate, and decide when. Do, dump, delegate, and decide when. If an email comes in, you can do it with paperwork as well, but let's just talk about email. The email comes in, either do it in 2 minutes, if you can, just get it out of the road. Dump it if it's spam. Delegate if it's not yours and do it nicely. Don't be Teflon Tim or Slippery Sally. Just delegate it nicely and let people want that in that delegation. And if you're not going to do it now and you're going to do it later, then decide when you're going to do it and make an appointment for yourself that will enable you to be reminded when it's come up. So I'm having a little, I'm not going to do that one now. I'm going to do it at 4:45. One of the last things I do today, give myself 20 minutes to do it. And I'll make a calendar appointment with myself. Real key, if you're not making a calendar appointment with yourself, do yourself a favor. Put some calendar appointments in for some of the big things and give yourself the time to get some of these things done. And you can do the same with paperwork. Piece of paper comes on your desk, do it if it's under 2 minutes, dump it if it's spam, delegate if it's not yours to somebody else, and if it can't be done now, decide when you're going to do it. So there's a real key with email and paperwork. 4 Ds: do, dump, delegate, and decide when. And I love this. I was working with an executive at one stage, and ping, something went off on his phone, and ping, something went off on his laptop, and I went, what was that? He said, oh, an email came in. I said, how come it went off on both? He said, just in case. I said, one of the first things I want you to do is take the notifications off your mobile phone, visual and auditory, and off your desktop and your laptop, auditory and visual. Take both of them off. And then at the bottom of your email, in your email signature, I want you to put this. Please note, I'm not always at my desk and I check my emails only 2 to 3 times a day. Therefore, please expect a normal response within 24 to 48 hours. If the matter requires urgent attention, please contact me directly on my mobile. And this particular person put it in his signature. Someone else in the organization came straight back to him and went, oh, I love what you did with the signature. I'm going to do that as well. It enables you to be in control of your emails rather than your emails being in control of you. I don't mind if it's 2, 3, or 4 times a day, 5 times a day, it doesn't matter. Have you ever closed your email client down to focus on the task at hand? Do you still have the notifications on? That's a great point. And for a lot of people, they go, yep, Les, I'm going to do that. So there's an invitation for you. Now on the back end, I did say I was going to give you some productivity hacks. Well, here they come. And these are rapid fire, but boy, they pack a punch, each and every one of them. And the first one is handle each piece of paper once. I talk about time management, productivity being leadership and discipline. Leadership and discipline. So as a piece of paper comes in, then be the leader, be disciplined with it, and do something with it. Handle it only once. And you can do the same with email. Handle each email only once, rather than pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down, pick it up, and put it down, prevaricating, procrastinating. No, be the leader, make the decision, do something with it. Don't use scraps of paper. Les, are you against Post-it notes? No, I'm not against Post-it notes. I have Post-it notes in my trusted system. I don't have them around my laptop. I don't have them sitting on a desk. I actually have them in a trusted system. So this use of scraps of paper is to say, don't have it on a scrap of paper over here, or back of an envelope, or a Post-it note, or a napkin, or so scraps around the place, and you end up going, oh, it's around here somewhere, and not being able to find it. Don't use scraps of paper, use a trusted system. Use a trusted system, whatever it is for you. Plan each day the day before. It's a key, real key for a lot of people. Their productivity really increases, giving themselves the opportunity to plan the next day. Because the first thing, if I did it, I'm finishing at 5:30, and who finishes at 5:30? But if I was finishing at 5:30 and I had the opportunity to do my planning, I'd kind of do it at 5:15 and go, what's coming up tomorrow? Like, oh, ouch, Scotty, guess what? We haven't done the ordering of the thing for tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And I've caught it in advance, because there's no use getting to tomorrow morning at 7 and going, did you order the breakfast? No. Did you order the breakfast? No. And we've got no breakfast. So that planning gives you an opportunity to catch it in advance. And also, if you've got stuff that you're thinking about, that may be a bit of a challenge. There may be a hard conversation, or you don't have the solution to problems quite right now, the opportunity is to take it home and just mull on it in the background. And we've all had situations where we wake up in the middle of the night and ping, we go, there's the answer. We write it down and go back to sleep. Or it'll happen in the shower and you'll go, wow, there's the answer to that problem. So that's by doing the planning in advance and going, what am I going to do tomorrow? So plan each day the day before. Don't trust your memory, write it down. David Allen, the guy that trained me, he said the brain's a good place to have an idea, not a good place to keep it. I love that. So make sure you have the idea and just write it down. Put it in a trusted system, whatever that trusted system is for you. Don't rely on your memory, write it down, get it out of your head, down onto your trusted system. Set a deadline. Set a deadline. Now, the reason that I was able to write my book is I was in a mentoring session and the particular lady said, you know, you've got enough content for a book. And I went, no, I don't. And my wife was sitting beside me. She said, yes, you do. And I went, okay. And I move in circles where if someone throws down a gauntlet, you don't just walk away, you pick it up and go with it. So I said, okay, within 12 months, I'll have a manuscript 12 months from today. And 12 months from that day, I had the manuscript. And 6 months after that, I had a fully fledged book, which ended up on the Today Show. I'm not saying you need to be on the Today Show, but that was my self-imposed deadline and it created real big results for me. Some of the things you've got on your incompletions list are there because you haven't set a deadline for yourself. You're just going, oh yeah, I'll get around to it. Yeah, well, guess what? You haven't got around to it. Start to set some deadlines. I'm going to do that one by the end of the day, that one by the end of the week, that one by the end of the month, and that one within 6 months. So start to put some deadlines on it for yourself. See, I don't need time. I need a deadline. Meetings. Again, the bane of a lot of people's lives, meetings. How many of you start your meetings on time? And you'll notice that the team started their meeting on time today. Start your meetings on time. Finish your meetings on time. Have an agenda. So start your meetings on time. Honor the people who have shown up on time, and over time it will become a culture of, if I don't arrive on time, I miss out on the first bit, and there is key information in the first bit, so therefore I need to be there for the start. Honor the people that are there at the start. Start on time. Then finish on time. 3/4 of the way through your meeting, go, well, we're about close to closing. What are the actions that have come out of this and who are responsible by when? So make sure that you have actions coming out of your meetings, but do it from that standpoint of wrapping it up in advance. Don't do it at 1 minute to go and rushing through it. Give yourself an opportunity to go, what have we discussed? What actions? Who's responsible? And by when? And have an agenda gives you the opportunity to put that out in advance so that people can come to the meeting and to talk to the points that are on the agenda, as opposed to being hijacked in the meeting called, you can talk about that. It's like, well, I could have if you had let me know in advance. So make sure your points are on the agenda and your agenda is distributed in advance. So there you go. Meetings, start your meetings on time, finish your meetings on time, have an agenda. All right, desk man, look at that. Pristine desk. Organize your space. And there are people that have desks like that and there are people that don't. Are you one of those people that don't have a desk like that? Well, by organizing your space, it enables you to focus on the task at hand. And if you look at that picture, you can go, that person would be able to focus on the one thing in front of them, and that is whatever's on the screen. Or you can pull out the piece of paper that you're working on, the document, the file, the folder, put it in front of you and work on the one thing, and then put it away. Actually put it in a file it away. So that's the opportunity for you to just organize your space, and it will help with your ability to focus on the task at hand. So desk management. And one of the last ones is clean up from last week. Clean up from last week, the weekly review. Just spend a little bit of time on this one because it really, for a lot of people, this is new information and they've never done it, or they've done it in the past and not rolled through with it over time. So by having the opportunity to clean up from last week, having a weekly review, what does that look like? Well, if you're on your own, your weekly review may be what worked this week, what didn't work this week, and what can I do differently next week. It's very simple to do on your own. And you can go through your schedule, your calendar, what happened in the week, and go what worked, what didn't work, what am I going to do differently. If you're working with other people, you have the opportunity to do it in teams and go, okay, team, let's talk about what worked this week, what didn't work this week, how can we do it differently next week? And again, depending on the time allowed, you can make it really short. Give me 30 seconds on what worked this week and go around the team. Give me 30 seconds of what didn't work and go around the team. What are we going to do differently next week to create a different result or a better result? So the weekly review is a great one to take either individually or corporately. For my business, I actually do one that I share with my wife. She's a partner in the business. And for me, being a small business, I look at what incomes come in. Therefore, I look at the bank balances. I look at my invoicing. What have I invoiced? The outstanding invoices, the proposals that I've put out. And I'm in the training game and education. So what leads, what meetings booked, the meetings that have held, any PR, TV, radio, podcasts, magazines that I've been in, any training I've conducted, any mentoring that I've done, and any networking I've been a part of. And I do that at the end of the week and take that into my end of week meeting with my wife, and we would go out into a coffee shop, but since there's been isolation, we've been doing it at the kitchen table and just going through that. I don't even need to talk to it. I can actually hand it over to her and she knows exactly what it is that's going on in the business without me having to be there with her to talk about it. And that's my weekly review. I'd be curious to know what your weekly review is, and do you do one? Because if you don't do one, this will set you up. This will enable you to be really productive, give you a reference point on what you've done well, what you haven't done well, and what you'll do differently going forward. And the last one is you need to develop some routines and habits. What are the routines and habits that you've got in your day that make you productive? And I say to people, what's the first thing you do when you get to work? And they go, coffee. And I go, is coffee work? Yes, Les. Without coffee, nothing gets done. And I go, well, that's okay. But notice what the other things around you that enable you to be productive. Are there routines that you get into that enable you to be more productive? Are there habits that you have that are good habits? On the flip side, are there habits that you have that are bad habits? Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's a paper. Maybe it's talking too long to other people. What's the productivity habits that don't work? And look at what are the productivity habits that do work. And someone once said, and everyone quotes it, it takes 30 days to make or break a habit. Well, really? Where's the science behind that? And they couldn't find it. And someone actually did the research and found that it's actually 66 days on average to make or break a habit. Some it's over 200 days, some it's short as 15, but for the majority of it's around 66 days. So can you take some of the things that we've discussed today and put them into your day for 66 days to make it a habit, rather than just being flash in the pan, rather than just being that was good, he was great, loved it. What can you do going forward that will enable it to be a habit? And I've got something for you in a moment. So the adventure begins. So make sure you're putting the comments in the chat and your questions. And just wanted to go, a lot of people come out of it and go, what's the next step, Les? I go, well, buy the book. I've got 70% off the book. But the key to this, taking what you've learned into the next step, one of the best things you can do is jump in for the Creating Success program and sign up for that. And I'll talk about that in a moment. Or if you need this in your place of work, then let's talk, because I'll give you a 50% discount if it's booked and paid within the next 7 days. So what do they look like? There's the book. If you use the promo code April-Digi, you'll receive a 70% discount off Get Back an Hour every day. It's normally $24.95, and today it's just $7.48. And it's just on my website at getmoretime.com.au/store and use the code April-Digi. And a good coach can change a game, and a great coach can change a life. So I've got a coaching program called the Creating Success, and it's 66 days, a bit over 2 months, where you've got accountability and support. You get a clarity session with me. Every Saturday morning we come together for a mastermind. I've got daily content in a closed Facebook group, and I'm dropping something in there every day at 7 a.m. that gives you an opportunity to look at it every day to go, what can I do here? What can I do here? And take it and create a habit. We've got over 100 topics that we explore, discuss, and action. The next one starts on July 25. I do have limited numbers. It's only $197 for the 66 days. So if you want to check it out for half of that, it's $127, and that $197 is less than $3 a day. So they're the links all in one. What I'm going to do at this point, we're coming up to the 40 minutes that I said, Scott, that I would give to your people. I will open it up for the panelists to ask me some questions based on what you've put in the chat. There's the Creating Success program. Now let's head towards any questions.
Thank you very much, Les. You seem to obviously be doing a lot, so you must be paying attention to your own advice there. I don't know if I could fit all of that in my day. And yes, we do have 3 questions actually at this stage. So question 1 is, I've heard that you can only handle about 30 relationships or people contacts at a certain time. Is that true in terms of people feeling overloaded and overwhelmed?
I know what you're saying. That comes from a study. They said you can only focus on 7 ± 2 things at any one time. So 7 ± 2. It could be 5, could be 6, could be 7, could be 8, could be 9. And that's why for me at the back of my system, it has around about 7, 8 or 9 opportunities of areas of responsibility. So therefore, you're focusing on those areas in your life. Now, as far as people are concerned, people are a different kettle of fish as opposed to what you're talking about with your areas of responsibility. But when you're looking at friendships, you should be looking at deep friendships are only a handful, and then you go into others that you're not taking a lot of time over. You're touching base with them, but it's not as in-depth. Where does that work in business? Well, in business, you could have hundreds of clients, but you're picking them up at an individual rate and going, what do I need to do with this particular client individually? And then you put it away and follow it away and pull the next one up. So make sure you delineate and have them fairly focused in your opportunity to deal with one person at one time. Is there another one? Scotty, I can see that look on your face.
There is certainly another one, Les. We've got a few coming through, so I think everyone's really appreciating the insights that you're sharing. So question number 2 is in relation to contextualising for work or home is very difficult at the moment, given the COVID and working from home circumstances, and they're seeking for any tips or advice that you can share.
Perfect. Absolutely fantastic question. The thing about working from home is boundaries. So if you have an opportunity to work from a room in the home, a separate room, put on your gear. Like I've got the jacket on. I'm at home and I've still got the jacket on. Put on your gear, walk to the office and start work in that office, in that particular room. So you're kind of walking to the room, walking to work, and you're there in the room. And then when you leave and have a coffee and you go back and have lunch and go back, at some point there needs to be a boundary to go, I'm going to knock off, and you walk out of that and close the door. And some people, we know they don't have the availability of a separate room, but you can do the same thing. You can go, I am going to have a boundary of, I'm going to start at 8:30, I'm going to finish at 5:30, and I'm going to have a lunch break, and I'm going to have morning tea, I'm going to have afternoon tea. But when it comes to 5:30, I'm going to set an alarm and I'm going to down tools. So that boundary gives you the opportunity to go hammer and tongs at what you are supposed to be doing at work, and then let it go, and leave the washing alone, and leave the tidying of the sink alone, and those sorts of things. Give yourself the opportunity to focus on work and be very specific in your focus. It's a boundary issue. It's a personal boundary issue.
Reminds me of when I was studying, Les, and suddenly when you knew you had to sit down and study, suddenly all those domestic chores seemed very important and needed to be done at that immediate moment in time.
There's a great one on YouTube at the moment around procrastination and the people inside of you around procrastination. I love it because we've all got it going on. It's like, oh, look, a shiny butterfly. And we go off on this tangent because it's fantastic. And I just want to be distracted rather than focusing on this. And it is a thing of leadership and discipline. And we've all got it going on. I don't want to be a leader right now, Les, and I don't want to be disciplined. Well, how's your productivity? And give yourself that opportunity. No, great point. Thanks, Jace. Is there another?
We've got more. They're all coming through. Okay, so you might have touched on this with the guy with 20,000 emails, but how do you deal with the overwhelm when you are confronted with the mountain of things that need to be done?
Prioritization. Need to look at the areas of responsibility and what's most relevant right here, right now, to go, if I don't do it, I'll lose face, I'll lose money, things will fall off the, like, what are those things that have a priority? And if there are more than, let's say, 20 that need to be done today, you've got too much on your plate and you need help. You need people in your circle of influence and in your orbit that you need to delegate to. You need people to help. Sometimes as yes people, we take it all on, go, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. No, it's all about me, all about me. And I talk about that in the program, that maybe it's not all about you and you need to start to push that back and look after yourself a little bit. So prioritization is one, delegation is another. What support, and I talk about that in the program as well, what support do you need? Asking for support and being supportable. And it's a real key. Why is it that people aren't supportable? And the other one is, I'll raise it, it just came to mind, and that is, how is it we sabotage ourselves? And we look at that in the program because we all have this part of us that sabotage. And I go, let's look at that, because if you can get to come to terms with that piece that sabotages you, you can be hugely productive.
Thank you for that, Les. We've got one which I think is probably very particular for the circumstances. And the question is, any tips for managing homeschooling, which requires significant parental involvement and work which can have competing time needs? I think this would be the best question to arrive so far, as everyone's challenging this one.
I love it. I'm not putting me on the spot or anything. So the key with that is, I'm going to say something completely outrageous. That is, be kind to yourself. Number one, you need to back off and go. If you're trying to do work and kids at the same time, be kind to yourself, because it's not easy at all. It is totally one of the hardest. And you go, why don't we pay teachers more? Because I find it really difficult doing the stuff at home. Of course we do. So be kind to yourself, number one. And again, set up schedules. Set up schedules so you go, okay, team, kids, child, we're going to do this now, and then we're going to take a break and we're going to have morning tea, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to have lunch, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to have afternoon tea, and then we're going to finish at this time. And while you're doing that, mum or dad are going to do this. And while you're doing that one, mum or dad are going to do this. So the segmentation, the scheduling really works. Take it as you would your own schedule and just translate it. It's like, well, why are you being so tough? Mum, dad need to get work done and we're in the same space. So let's do it. Let's have some fun with it. I'm happy for you to come and ask me questions, but you have tasks to do and I have tasks to do.
Okay, Doug. We've got lots of questions, and I think, ladies and gentlemen, for the purposes of sort of not being here all day and taking up Les's time, we might sort of skip through a few. There's one about what do you do with the interruptions with emails? I think, Les, you probably dealt with that in number one, turn the notifications off. And then number two, maybe think about only looking at emails at certain times of the day. We've got a question about how do you overcome feeling overwhelmed and anxious. I think you probably dealt with that in your look at priorities. What urgently needs to be done right now, and what can we sort of do at some other time? Now, this is an interesting question. What kind of information are you putting on the weekly review sheet you use?
It will vary according to the person, but you saw the categories there. I put dollar figures for me because I'm a small business. I need to know, and my business partner, called my wife, she needs to know. So are we afloat? Are we viable? Am I hiding away? Am I actually cooking the books? Because if I'm cooking the books and don't put it out in front of people, then I can get away with it for months and months and months. But if I'm doing this every week, I need to be accountable based on the numbers, and numbers actually speak volumes. So put down the numbers. So putting down dollar figures, bank accounts, and then go to what are the outcomes? What are the KPIs, key performance indicators? And you can put KPIs on there so that the individuals can go, here's what I've done this week according to that KPI. I'm making efforts in that, and I'm making progress, and you can actually gauge people according to the KPIs and put that on a weekly review. So dollar figures, leads, prospecting, what calls have been made, how many people have you followed up with, how many new clients have come in, those sorts of things. It will vary according to what your business is and how you run your business as to what's on your weekly review. I'm happy to take, my email address is just les@getmoretime. So if you've got further questions, happy to answer them off the webinar.
Yeah, well, perhaps Scott, we might just do a couple more questions in the sort of the interests of time. And there's a couple of questions that sort of relate to your course. So if people have got them, then that, or if one person's got that, then that's probably something that's good for there. So somebody's interested in one of your courses, but then goes, how much time a day would I need to set aside to do this properly?
Oh, I love it. That's such a great question, because it's not supposed to be onerous. It's supposed to work with you, not against you. So I put up something at 7. It's between 2 minutes and 5 minutes. It's short, sharp, to the point. You look at it and you go, that's great. I'm going to take that into my day and look at it. It's not onerous. It's not, oh, there's homework and, oh, I've got to set aside. No, it's an opportunity for you to be aware of it and go, nah, Les, that was awesome. I'm going to put that in, and you're then able to go forward and create it. So between 2 and 5 minutes as the video, then it's up to you. And the Saturday is an hour's get together on a Saturday morning. And again, short, sharp, and to the point. We'll do a check-in. We'll do some group work. We'll do content. We'll do what are your responsibilities, what are your goals for the week, and then wrap it up.
Okie doke. And we, ladies and gentlemen, we might do sort of one last question, which is an interesting one, and actually one that I struggle with as well. And the question was, I struggle with a chatty colleague that can really stop my productivity. What are some tips on being available to answer questions, but also being able to focus on tasks?
I love that question. It's all about boundaries. It's all about boundaries. And I use Scott. Scott comes over to my desk and I go, that's great, Scott. I'd love to talk about that right now. I need to do some A's. And if you set up the A's and B's and you get everyone involved in that prioritization, I'm just working on some A's. Can we take this up, Scotty, later on, like this afternoon at 3:30, if that's okay with you? And normally people go, yeah, okay. And off they go, and you can focus on what you've got. Or they go, no, it's really important. I'll go and find somebody else. And they go and find somebody else. It's a boundary issue. So sometimes we just let people roll over our boundaries. And I'm saying boundaries are okay. And rather than say, no, go away, you can go, yeah, that's great. I'd love to talk about this. Can we do it at 3:30, 4 o'clock this afternoon? Because that's a really good point. I really want to talk about it, but I want to give myself the time to talk about, or give us the time to talk about it, rather than just the 5 minutes right here, right now. Let's do it this afternoon. Boundaries, communication, be nice to people.
Be nice to people. Okie doke. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if we could perhaps do a little virtual clap For Les, thank you very much for that presentation. We've already getting some feedback with somebody saying it's definitely one of the best webinars I've done this year, Les. So there you go. Thank you very, very much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, this presentation number 1 will be emailed to you. There was a recording of it and it'll be emailed to you together with your CPD certificate. For those that were looking for that discount code, you can see that in the chat function, but of course it will appear if you replay the recording, so you can take access of the massive discounts that Les is offering to you. Thank you again for that, Les. That's much appreciated. Other than that, Les is obviously available to chat to you, and his details were in the presentation. So that brings an end to today's webinars. Thank you everybody for attending. We had a massive turnout, so that's fantastic to see. Worrells will continue with these webinars, and look out for the invitation for next month's webinar series sometime in August. In the meantime, of course, all of the Worrells partners and staff are available for any questions that you may have that relate to insolvency of your clients. Of course, given these sort of difficult times, it's perhaps at the front of some people's minds from there. And so on that note, I will end today's webinar. Thank you very, very much for coming, and we hope to see you again in August. Thank you.
Bye-bye.